my friend. Welcome to Parenting A to Z. I'm Kelly Bourne, and this week we're diving right into revenge. And revenge, I know it's kind of a crazy sounding word. It sounds really heavy and sort of ominous, but what I'm talking about is those situations where you feel like your kids are acting out, they're saying things and doing things on purpose, that they're trying to stick it to you. If you know what I mean. I feel like every parent in the world will know what I mean. So if you find yourself dealing with that kind of behavior, stick with me. We're going to talk about why they can act out on purpose in those ways. And then I've got some really practical tools on how you can deal and how you can turn that whole deal right around. Coming right up. So what is revenge? What are these revenge, quote unquote, misbehaviors that I'm talking about? I am talking about when you send your kids to your room and they trash it on purpose, or when they purposely break a plate, or when they purposely pull flowers out of the garden, or anytime you feel like they're doing something on purpose to stick it to you, like they're trying to send you a message. That's what I'm talking about. So it could be noticing escalating behavior. It could be damaging property. It could be hurting others. It could show up in a whole different variety of ways depending on your child, your relationship, and just how things are and how they're seeing things. Because that's really what it comes down to. And I'll touch on that briefly in a little bit. But first I want to talk about how you can tell if you're dealing with this kind of behavior. So if you find yourself being really shocked or disgusted or really disturbed or really hurt, like if you're finding yourselves feeling really hurt, like how could they do that? That's a really good indication that you could be dealing with revenge type of misbehaviors. The other way, this is probably for me personally at least, the best way that I can tell if I'm falling into this revenge cycle of misbehavior is in how I respond to my kids. So if I find myself being tempted to respond with retaliation to kind of up the ante, like, oh, you're gonna do that? Well, I'm gonna show you who's boss. That is like an excellent trigger for me. Like, red alarm bells, like, okay, hold it, pump the brakes, Kelly. This is what we're dealing with here. So anytime I'm feeling about retaliation, or I'm gonna like up the punishments, or I'm just gonna like lecture them or nag them into next week and show them who's boss, that is a really good indication that I'm dealing with a revenge type of behavior. And the thing, I know revenge, I even feel weird saying it. It's such a crazy, harsh sounding word. But really, what it really just means is that they're trying to get back, right? They're trying to get back at us. And underlying so much of that is a feeling of hurt. And that's the other big thing when it comes to revenge behaviors, is I feel like we can get really distracted by the outward display, whether it is them mouthing off or being sassy or damaging property or being mean to their brother. We can get so focused on that we can forget that the underlying reason of why they're doing that is because they're feeling hurt or they're feeling left out. So it's so important not to get distracted with the outward behavior and start to look at the underlying reasons as to why they're doing this. Why are they acting in this way, and why now? And really getting curious about that. And that is the secret sauce right there into turning things around. Because it is never about pulling up the flowers, and it is never about smashing the plate on purpose. It's always hitting at that underlying reason why. That's where you'll start to see the behavior change. And of course, you know me, like I'm so big on the why. And when it comes to revenge type behaviors, those I'm going to stick it to mom and dad kind of behaviors, I'm going to get back at them. There's 3 really big reasons why our kids do that. Of course, this isn't like, I don't want to paint with too wide of a brush, but just to give you an idea and to kind of start thinking and reframing this behavior so you can see what's really going on and what is actually really bothering your kids. And so the first really big reason our kids can act in this way is punishment. If our kids have been punished and punished and punished and punished and punished and punished into next week, anytime they make a mistake or act out, it starts to feed that cycle. They start to get the message that we're trying to make them pay, right? And lots of times, heck, let's be honest, like when we punish our kids, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make them pay for what they did. It's like somehow we think that if we make them feel worse, they'll somehow act better. And the big reason why punishment is so ineffective, and why punishment, whether it's threats or nagging or bribing or removing privileges, or all of the ways that we can punish our kids when they act out. The reason it's so ineffective, especially when it comes to these revenge type behaviors, is that it just reinforces the message that they're out to get me. Because what do our kids do? Of course, we as parents, we think that, okay, we're going to punish our kids and then they're going to get it and they're never going to do that again. But what happens from our kids' perspective, and that instead of them thinking about what they did or what they could do differently next time, or where they maybe could improve things, they're not thinking about any of that. They're just thinking about how mean you are. So it's just like, it's this never-ending cycle. So punishment is like right up there, one of the number one reasons why our kids can act out in revenge. And then there's two other reasons too. One is constantly losing power struggles. If our kids feel like they're always losing power struggles and we're always coming out on top, as far as when all those times we're locking heads, again, it could be with our younger kids putting on boots, putting on coats, all those day-to-day struggles. With our older kids, it could be us always putting our foot down or never allowing them to see their friends, or it could be anything. But from their perspective, always losing power struggles, it gets really defeating. You can just kind of feel like, oh man. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm not going to win at this, I'm going to win at this. I'm going to show them. And that's where the revenge behaviors can come in. Third one is sibling favoritism. So of course we wouldn't do it intentionally, but sometimes our kids can feel like one of their siblings is favored, and that can be really hurtful, and that can be a really big source of these revenge type misbehaviors that we see. So I say that not to like guilt anyone, or because like, guys, I'm in the same boat with you. I am in the same boat with you. But I feel like having an awareness of knowing that punishment and our kids losing power struggles and our kids feeling like other siblings are favored, those are the root reasons for some of these misbehaviors that we're seeing. So if we have this awareness, it can cause us to kind of step back before it gets to that point of their behaviors escalating. Those are the three big reasons why they do it. I think it's important too to look at how we can deal practically when we're faced with these situations. Right at the top of the list is acknowledging their hurt feelings. And trust me, guys, I know this can be like the absolute last thing you feel like doing when you feel like your kids are breaking stuff or being rude or acting out on purpose. It's like the absolute last thing you feel like doing, but it is the only way to start building that connection and building that sense of trust back up, is to acknowledge where they're at and that they might be hurting. And saying like, I'll say it to my kids sometimes too, like, you must be really upset with me to talk to me like that. Or did I do something to upset you to make you act like that? Because that's not like you. Just recognizing and kind of throwing them a bone that I know this isn't who they are, and asking what's bothering them, asking them what's up, just recognizing that something's going on. And coupled right closely with that is avoiding the punishment and the retaliation, because like I said earlier, that's only feeding the cycle. I know we think we're showing them who's boss, but we keep upping the ante, they're going to keep upping the ante. It's up to us as the parents, as the adults, to break that cycle, to recognize what's going on, and to take the hard step. I know it's funny how sometimes asking for a hug can be taking the hard step when we feel like we need to be the ones laying down the law. But recognizing that they're hurt, dealing with the hurt, avoiding the punishment and retaliation, that's how you will change things, and you'll start to see a slow downtick in these behaviors. And I'm also not sitting here pretending that you do this, you start recognizing their feelings and avoiding punishment and retaliation, that you're going to have a magical moment and your child will never act out in revenge ever again. It's a process. It's absolutely a process for you and for them. Changing how you communicate with each other, not taking the bait of these alarming behaviors and these really alarming, right? Because when you're feeling shocked at what your kids are doing, that's a really good sign that you're in this revenge type cycle. So stopping that cycle, reaching out for the hug, reaching out for connection, recognizing that your kids are hurting, and then going from there. And another thing too, this one's hard. This is a tough topic. So if you find yourself listening in right now and joining me right now, and you're having a lot of conflicting feelings, know that it's totally normal. It's hard. It's really hard, because I know for a lot of us, it's like we're trying these new strategies and these new ways of relating with our kids that we actually have no experience with ourselves, because this isn't how a lot of us were raised, right? Like a lot of us were raised that you do what you're told when you're told, and that's kind of the end of the story. So giving yourself permission to reach out to your kids and connect with your kids and recognize that they're hurting, and not getting distracted by their outward quote unquote misbehaviors. It can be hard, and it can bring up a big internal struggle. So I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you if you find yourself having a hard time. And especially with this next piece I want to touch on is the importance of making amends. And that means us apologizing for our part in the hurt. It's hard. It's hard admitting it. It's really hard admitting it if we've said something or we've done something, because we can, right? We can react out of anger. We can retaliate out of anger. We can act out because we're feeling stressed about something that's going on work, or something where we feel like we're feeling short in another area of our lives, and then our kids are suddenly taking the brunt of our impatience. Is when we can be strong enough to make those amends, that sends a huge message to our kids that we're on the same side, we don't ever mean to hurt them, and that we are willing to do what it takes to build that bridge of connection again. And then it also shows them a powerful example that when they mess up, when they make mistakes, when they maybe act out of stress or anxiety, doing and saying things that they don't mean, that they can apologize, that they can reach out, and mom and dad are always a hug away, and that we're not going to build up that wall, that we're going to bring them in towards us. So making amends is also a huge piece of this. So really, at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not trying to pretend that watching this video is going to be a cure-all for all your defiant, disobedient behaviors that you're dealing with, but I hope that it sets off a mindset shift. Is instead of being distracted by your kids' outward behavior as being something that you need to control or you need to fix, see it instead as your child is hurting. Your child is trying to reach out. Your child is stressed. Your child is anxious. And this behavior is their way of showing you that they need you and that they need help. They just don't have the words to tell you rationally. Heck, just think of in your own life when you're feeling really upset, really stressed, really anxious, really hurt. If you're conducting yourself with your full rational mind, being very, very calm in all your interactions. I know for me, heck no. The answer is no. That's when I have a really short fuse and I can do and say things that I don't mean. And it's no different from our kids. So I hope this sparks a mindset shift for you to just kind of dig a little bit deeper, to chase the why. Why are they behaving in this way, and why now? What's going on? How are they hurting? Instead of being distracted by the outward behavior. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. I know it can be tricky. It's an ongoing process dealing with these types of behaviors. So if you want more in-depth resources and support, make sure to check us out in the Parenthood. I also host weekly office hours where you can hop on and talk to me directly, lots of times one-on-one, about your issue and give you some specific strategies for what you're dealing with. So I really hope that helps, guys. I wish you so much luck as you're dealing with these tricky behaviors. I hope that mindset shift changes things, just changes your perspective on your kids' behavior and opens that door to finding some solutions and finding the root of what's causing that misbehavior. So best of luck. I'll see you in the next vid. Let me know how it goes.